Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom. And today I'm coming along with a bit more July to December inspiration, along with a bit of celebration too. And this is a beautiful Stampin' die set that you might have overlooked in the catalogue. It's called Perched in a Tree, as well as these super images, and you've got some lovely sentiments as well. You've got these gorgeous dies that include the ones that cut this beautiful panel on the front, and hopefully you can see those little leaves on the inside as well. So cute little robin. It's lovely to have a British bird. I mean, it's kind of our national bird really, the plucky little robin, and they're quite vicious as well, quite territorial, but they are lovely. And you've got really useful speckles as well, and you've got in the die, you've also got like a lovely blossom die as well, so you could really make this spring quite easily. You've got autumn leaves, the aspen dies they're called, and you've got these two sizes of leaf and the branch, really useful. So when I saw it, I just had that vision of having a kind of tree peekaboo. So it's a kind of sort of a variation on double tent fold. So you can see here, so the front, it folds flat for posting and then pops up here, and then those leaves are suspended from the middle to sort of give a bit of movement. And the paper I've used is Celebration. So this is one of the Celebration items that you can choose with a £45 spend. Desperately looking for my catalogue, which of course I have misplaced just because I wanted to share it with you. Anyway, for a £45 spend you can choose this Rings of Love DSP, and it's 12 by 12, lovely patterns as you can see. Super New Home would work really well. These medallions, that's probably my least favourite. Love the colours, but I'm not into medallions. Love these toadstools and autumn elements, go with the kindest gnomes. The dies for the rings are actually cut out, these tree rings. Poinsettias if you're into Christmas. Obviously this is the tree paper that I've used, and then the lovely blue tits as well. So you could kind of potentially put the blue tits behind there maybe. Might be a bit busy. And then you've got this lovely salt effect. So who doesn't love free stuff? And you can always use DSP up, can't you? Even if it's later on. So I'm going to start off with some stamping and colouring, and then we're going to do some die. I've done most of the die cutting already, just because I think I'll just talk you through what I did with that. And yeah, on the back, oh sorry, I didn't show you the back. So the back has got that lovely robin perched on a branch. And I say, you know, I could easily make that a Christmas card, but you could make it a thank you card as well. And the sentiments, you know, wishing you abundant joy and peace, perfect for Christmas. Let heaven and nature sing again. But no matter the season, I'm here for you. So that's always a good one. And your kindness warms my heart. So a lovely kind of thank you one as well. So that's what we're doing. So the first thing we obviously need to do is to stamp and die cut images. Now, you know me, when we're doing some stamping, I like to stamp, die cut, and then colour my image. Too many times I've done some, for me, relatively good stamping, and yeah, then it's all gone wrong with the die cutting. So we don't want that to happen. We're going to be colouring with the Stampin' blends, so we want to ink up with Memento, and just pop that there. And I want to ink our robin. Again, these are quite large stamps, so I'm going ink pad to stamp rather than the other way around. Just make sure I get really good coverage. And pop that in there. Now, I obviously do 2 or 3 at a time, because you really want to make sure that, you know, you've always got images to hand. If I was doing lots, then I would die cut first, use my stamp apparatus to line that up, and then die cut those out. So I am going to need these. Now these are just using some retired stock, cardstock, and this is what I would use if I was using the stamp apparatus to do multiple images, but I'm going to need those a little bit for some gluing. So, well, no surprise, I'm going to come in with my bit of post-it note tape. So line your image up just so you can see, just hug that image and add a bit of tape to hold it in place. Okay, find my tape. So again, and what you'll find is if you have a look on, these are the sort of release holes that you've got, but they are quite useful because you can kind of peer through those, and once one of those lines up, you just sort of wiggle the other end till you get it cut. So that's going to go through at my die cutting machine to give us a couple of those. I'm also going to want to die cut this front here. So I thought, because my first one I did in crumb cake, I thought I might go a little bit deeper with soft suede. So I've got a piece of soft suede here that is 10.5 by 14.5, so a standard card front. And I'm just going to lay that big die on the front. Now somebody, I'm sure, will come up with a lovely way of using the waste from this as well. I suspect a bit of Glad wrap might pick it up. Yeah, I'll perhaps have to have a look at doing that. Some of that sort of paper you use with if you're doing vinyl cutting might be the answer as well. And let's die cut that through this, and then we're going to have our two die cut images. Okay, so that's going to be the front of our card. So it sort of pops out really, really well. And then those are my branches. So what did I use? Okay, this is what, of course, I couldn't remember, could I? So I did have a look at what a robin really looks like, and it's certainly got quite a bit of brown as well as a kind of grey. And actually, the red breast is as orange. It's quite, well, they do vary, but quite orangey. So what have I got? I've got light and dark grey granite for the underneath. I've got some crumb cake for the top, and a bit of light soft suede. We'll see how that goes. And then I've actually got pumpkin pie, a bit of poppy parade as well, and I think that was the colours I used. So I'm going to come in first of all and do the let's do our sort of red breast. So I'm going to come in with my light pumpkin pie, and it sort of kind of comes round here. So I'm going to add a bit of poppy parade, but sort of just a little bit. So it is the light. So I'm just kind of coming round a little bit on the edge there. I'm going to then come in with my pumpkin pie again, hopefully. Yeah, so I'm just going to pop a little bit more of that sort of pinky red in there, and just blend that in. And then I just dabbed almost the tiniest little bit of my sort of cherry cobbler in there as well. So hopefully that's my sort of, that's a little bit more cherry cobbler, just as that poppy parade seems to be almost disappearing. I just, there we go. So that's my kind of ready colours. Then I'm going to come in with my light grey granite. So this is the sort of the underbelly of the robins. There seems to be this sort of lovely sort of soft sort of browny grey. Grey granite is perfect for. I'm just going to come in on those darker areas. To add a bit in there. And then just come in again. Just blending that out as well, to add a bit of shading. And then I'm going to come in with my crumb cake to do the body. Sorry, not even the body, the main feathers. So we're going to saturate that, and then, as I use a little bit of light soft suede, just using the bullet tip. I perhaps could have gone a little bit with more of the soft suede, maybe. But so that's the lovely thing with birds, isn't it? They do, each individual bird is quite unique. So I'll just come in with that crumb cake again and just blend that through. So there we have our robin. Yeah, the feet there. And actually what I'm going to do is just come around with the crumb cake. Often we'd use Pool Party to go around the outside, and I did do that initially, but it just wasn't right. I think because it's very much on the sort of darker background, so I'm just going to colour this in because he's sitting on a branch, and so the rest of the card being crumb cake, I think that worked better rather than the white as well. Just kind of grounds that image a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to use my light crumb cake for my branch as well. And actually I did think afterwards that perhaps could have actually stamped and die cut that on crumb cake itself, which would have worked. It's sort of silver birch, so maybe early espresso would have looked quite good. And then I'm just going over some of these sort of deeper parts of like the birch tree. Although as they're called aspen dyes, I suspect therefore it's probably an aspen. Or is that the same as a birch tree? Let me know if you're in the States. Or if you're not, and you know, let me know. Okay, so there we have our two coloured images. We've got our front. So other pieces that we need, you're going to need a piece of cardstock that's 10.5 by 26.5. A piece, I'm going to use early espresso, and this is going to be 14 by 10. This is for the reverse. So I'm just going to trim that down. And what I'm going to do on that is actually gut the middle of it. And on this one there is a reason, because I don't want the back of my card to be too heavy. So I'm just trying to reduce the weight at the back, like so. So obviously that's going to then be used for die cutting. So that's my frame. You want a piece of DSP that is 10 by 14 centimetres, and you want an extra little strip that is 10 by 1.5 centimetres. Then some basic white for the reverse, so you want that to be 9.5 by 13.5. And that's for our stamping as well, which I'll do in a moment. And then what I've done is I've die cut a range of leaves in some kind of autumn colours. So I did originally go for kind of the very much the neutrals, but then I decided it needed something to kind of brighten it up. So I've kind of gone for sort of crushed curry, that looks like a bit of pumpkin pie. I really kind of went through my scraps box and sort of see what I got. So I just wanted to sort of vary those leaves, and as I say, I kind of added a few in there, and I think maybe my large leaf actually might be the one that, let's see how we go. So as you can see, you know, all of my scraps go into there, ready for the next project. Okay, so imagine you've die cut some leaves. So I kind of did a couple of a couple of large leaves, because then you can kind of overlap them to trap the string in between. So I've kind of gone a couple of large ones and sort of 4 small ones. There we go. Okay. Now, I was looking for my linen thread, couldn't find my linen thread, so I'm using just some gold thread, but any fairly fine thread that you're going to use, and you're going to want 3 pieces that are about, sort of just probably, where are they, about 10 centimetres, so about 4 inches. And then you're going to want either your Seal Plus or some red tape to for those as well. Okay. Right. Okay, so now we want to come to constructing our card. We've got a little bit more stamping to do as well, but I will do that in a moment as we go through. So this is our 10.5 by 26.5 centimetre piece, and you're going to score at 2, at 4, and then at 6, at 20.5, 22.5 and 24.5. So, and that's all the scoring there is. Then what you do need to do with this one is really burnish it well. So grab your bone folder and really reinforce those creases. First in one direction, and then you're going to concertina fold those as well. Okay. So the same on the other end, and it is exactly the same scoring, but the gluing is going to be slightly different. So again, I'm just really reinforcing those and burnishing there. So those are all our pieces. What we need to do is stamp our piece. So this is the piece that's going to layer onto the back of our card, and it's going to go onto our early espresso piece. You'll see there. So as you can see, where I've cut that out, you're never going to know because it's going to be covered up. So all I did was I took my my 2 stamps. Now if you remember, we stamped in memento. So I'm just going to quickly use my chamois to clean that memento off. Now you could stamp in memento again, but I rather like it when you use a deeper colour from one of our neutrals range. It works really well. So I'm simply going to do my branch first, I think. So branch, just grab a scrap of paper, just pop that across the bottom, then ink up my robin, and even though it's not photopolymer, you can kind of pretty much see where those claws are going to be, so you can just pop him in there. And then you've got this lovely sort of splatter effect, which I'm just going to come round. And again with these, you don't have to go all the way around. Sometimes it's quite nice just to go in a couple of places on the corner. What I did do, which I'm going to do again now, is to add a bit of interest. I'm just going to go around the edge of my die cut. Kind of add a bit of texture to it. There we go. And then I'm also going to use my blending brush on this as well. So as you can see on this one, what I've done is I've just come in and added a bit of blending to get a bit of depth of colour on that. So I've got one that I keep for browns. I'm just stamping off, but just coming in with a bit of depth, to add some sort of shading to those. And I think it just makes them stand out a little bit more from the background. There we go. Okay. Right, so put those to one side. Now, the next bit is it's the trickiest bit, and it's really not tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my panel, offer it up to the front here, and you can see, hopefully, where you'll see those folds just showing at the top, and you don't want that showing. So I'm just popping that to the top and making some marks. Hopefully you can see that there, where it kind of overlaps, and I'm going to do the same at the bottom. So again, I wanted the sort of depth of the concertina, but I don't want it to show. So all I'm going to do is say I'm using an erasable pen just to go where those marks are, and that's going to help me. I'm just going to then cut to the outside of those marks. Like so. So that's my bottom, and this is the bit that you need to remember. So to help me, I'm actually going to, I don't know why I didn't think of this before, I'm going to quickly add my DSP in so I know which is the top and which is the bottom. So there we go, so I've done my bottom piece. So I'm going to do the same at the top. So again, just coming in, and I'm cutting sort of to, say, a few millimetres away from that, just to make sure. So again, just double check. Yeah, that's looking good. And at the bottom, yeah, might just come a little bit more on. I'll leave it actually on the bottom now, we'll be fine. Okay, so while it's flat, now's a good time to put our back pieces in place. And it will also make it a little bit more sort of rigid, which will help when we come to pop it all together. So just pop your layer centrally on the back. Again, double checking that you've got the right orientation. Pop your stamped panel on the back there, so that's where you can obviously write your sentiment, add your sentiment or your message. So now we've got a piece that's like this. So we've trimmed away at the top and the bottom. We've got our concertina folds, we've added our DSP, and we've added the backing. So now what we want to do is add our leaves. So what I'm going to do is use two, and when you die cut these leaves, you'll see this beautiful embossing there. And all I'm going to do is come in with my Seal Plus and put my piece of thread down the centre. Add some more either side, and then actually I rather liked to offset those leaves because they're not a perfect match, so you might as well make the most of it. So there's our first one. We're going to do the same with the others. So again, Seal Plus because it's something that's going to be dangling, so we just want to make sure that it's all nicely together. So I'm just keeping away from that very outside edge, and then overlapping those leaves, and then the last, exactly the same on that last one. So the middle of the thread, and again just overlap those as well. So that just gives us a little bit of variation. Now these leaves we're going to put in the middle here. So all I'm going to do is add some Seal Plus across that piece there. Don't go all the way to the edge. and I prefer just to fold it in to get my stuff, so it's roughly coming to the middle, that first one, and your threads will be too long, but I've done that quite deliberately. But once they're in, you can then come in and just trim away those excess pieces and make sure they're not in the crease. So we've got our leaves. Now we just want to take our piece of DSP, and again, this is Seal Plus I've used here, so you want a really good bit, and just pop that in towards the bottom edge of that, because you're not going to see that very top edge anyway. So like so. Okay. Now, the next piece of the magic is when we're going to put our branch across. So again, I want to do that now before I kind of get it assembled. So I'm going to put it down across that bottom piece. So we're kind of going to put it just about sort of 3 centimetres up, something like that. Now, as you can see, you don't want to put the glue onto this because you don't know where it's going to go. You don't exactly know where it's going to go on here either. And this is where I'm using my template. So just pop it across, and then all you can do is pop the adhesive in that aperture and lift it up. Pop your piece in like so, and then holding it down, just pop it through, and then you're not going to have glue squishing out all over the place. I'm going to do the same with our robin. So just imagine our robin's going to be perching on that branch. So the same there, and then you know that your adhesive, your robin's going to be really well stuck, but you're not going to have glue squishing everywhere. There we go. Just hold it for a second and then pop that away. And there we've got some adhesive. Our robin is adhered really well, but without creating too much of an issue for us when we fold our card flat. And the last little bit of this is to add our piece onto the front and the back. So we can trim the side here, clear the decks, just trim to the side. And it's up to you which you do first, whether you do the top or the bottom. I will generally do I think I'll do the bottom. So what I'm going to do is add my adhesive onto here. Now that happens sometimes when you catch an edge of your Seal Plus. So if you're at all wary about that, then it's really easy. Just come in if you've got the time to use Tombow. I find the Tombow works well because it does give you a bit of wriggle room. So this is now where we're going to attach our bottom piece. So we're just adding that to where that score line is. Use the side lines to make sure it's level. If you get any oozing of glue, just come in, bit of card to get rid of that, and then while it's in place just fold it down and give that a good burnish. Now we're going to come to the top section. Just going to tuck those leaves, and this section here, all I'm going to do, I'm not even going to bother with my Seal Plus, I'm just going to use my Tombow. And I'm saying, because you've trimmed that away, you're not getting any of that background showing through. And then just make sure, while it's still damp, that you press it down to make sure it folds flat, which it does, like so. And then all that remains is you're going to run Seal Plus across the top there and squeeze it together. And there we have our fun Perched in a Tree double tent fold card, something like that. It stands up on its own and you get the lovely movement of the leaves, which is really difficult to show you on camera, but it works. Have fun. I hope you enjoyed creating, and if you'd like to purchase the bundle and get your free DSP, just pop along, use the links below this video and pop along to my shop. I really appreciate it if you choose me as your demonstrator. Thanks for watching. Bye now.